following up what happened to Naoya, I don't have the most faith in the idea of like character staying because it's one of those things when you have there's two cats here just being upset. Uh, when you have series where like you can have like more of a regular shonen where protagonists don't die very often. Whenever they do, it hits like a truck, or you can have something closer to like Jujutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man stuff, where characters really outside of a specific few can die at any point. And I mean, they both have their pros and cons to them. I definitely prefer the more shonen where the character's not going to die that often, but when it does, it's built up and it has a lot of emotional weight to it. But I know some people like the the other where it's like like Jujutsu Kaisen where a character can die and that's it. The obvious one, Nanami's death, I didn't foresee coming at all, and that one still really upset me. The other deaths like Mai and what was the guy's name, Yaga, the one that was related to Panda. I didn't really care at all about those, but I'm like, man, Nanami hit me. And Naoya, I was sad about Naoya. I was sad about pretty much the whole Zenin clan, but the difference was Naoya, I had interest in as an antagonist. Like, he was a complete douchebag, but he was a bad guy, so that's like a pro for being bad guy points. But he ended up getting taken out, unfortunately, pretty lackluster. And I know he wasn't built up to be a big character. It was more of just like he had a pretty decent role, in his rank in the Zenin clan and stuff. And it seemed like he was going to be a bigger character. Granted, that's on me for having higher expectations on him. So I'm not gonna like try and grill Akutami for not hyping up a character that I personally had hype into. But this guy, one, I have hype in him. Two, he's got hype in him in the series. This guy Higuruma, he's really cool. I like his design. I like his personality. His power looks cool. His introductions have been really cool. I like this guy a lot. He seems pretty interesting of a character. I like that he's like this crazy former lawyer. I just think that's really intriguing in like the base root of like his character. But on top of that, I like his role kind of that he's pretty much an antagonist, but like we don't know if he's like evil bad guy or if he's just an opposing character. We'll just have to wait and see about that. But in this chapter, where we got a nice confrontation between him and Yuji, and I'm very curious as to like what Akutami's plans for this character is, because he's not a reincarnated sorcerer from centuries to 1,000 years ago. He just seems to be a modern day guy who is powerful and very key to this current plot in the Calling game. And again, it makes him more stand out because he's not one of these like, oh, he's from the golden age of sorcery, he's like super OP, just reborn. It's like, no, he's just some guy who seemed really dedicated to his job, and then when he started to kind of get cheated by the system, he just kind of snapped. But the whole chapter starts out, you just have some random guy, like dudes bullying a nerd, and there's a guy who is he's just not really wanting to be part of it, and then Yuji shows up, and Yuji just beats up these guys really fast, and it's just like, okay, well, let's see how it goes. And then it goes over to the characters now with Yuji and this guy Rin, and I don't remember if this guy, like, prior to his grouping up with Yuji, if he was ever really shown or relevant. I can't remember. Some of the side characters, obviously, like, can appear really fast, and then you don't see them again for a long time, and it's like, unless you distinctly remember them, it's hard to really like have any grasp on the characters. Like, I barely remember that girl that from chapter 1 that was a couple chapters ago that Kenjaku ended up kind of talking to and like leading out of the Calling game. I thought she was actually that one girl that had a crush on Yuji that used to be like really fat, but it was like, oh no, because she didn't have glasses. But then it was, oh yeah, it was this girl from chapter 1. Neat. But on top of that, you have Megumi with the other girl and Yuji with this dude, and they're just like, okay, well, we'll take you to Higuruma, and they're kind of just going their way. And Megumi was the one that ended up getting betrayed. Bad on him. I feel like backstabbing Yuji, he could have just got maybe a little bit roughed up a little bit. He'd be willing to talk. Megumi though definitely looks really annoyed, and I'm like, these guys are fodder. What are they really gonna do? If this guy Reggie is actually strong, I'll be really surprised. He seems like one of those characters that could be like that, where he's like slightly goofy, but that's just part of his character, and he's actually pretty competent. We'll have to wait and see. But like, is he gonna be stronger than Megumi? I don't know. Like, if it was like if it was somebody like more Kukisaki's league, that's one thing. But Megumi has taken considerable like strides in strength like every arc, and we know that he's obviously got like the partial domain expansion. He has like his I can't remember what the form of his dog, like Ishikigami, like what that one is called, but it was able to damage Hanami, so obviously being able to damage a special grade. These guys definitely seem like they're out of their league, and we know that if all else came to fail, like he has his suicide move where he summons that one, what was the guy's name? Magorama or whatever? Magohara, whatever, like the super high level Shikigami, like he just summons that, and then bam. But then we see over with Yuji and Hiruma is like in a bathtub, like up on stage, just like taking a bath with his clothes on. He's talking to him. He's like, I never really took a bath with clothes on. It feels better than I expected. He's just being weird. He's just being an odd guy. And he's like saying how he remembers like back swimming with clothes on. He wanted to try it again. And there's like a whole part where he's saying like now he's kind of off the rails, and he's trying things that he hasn't had like either done or like experienced a long time. And even at one point when he's like, you just trying to talk to me, he's like, that's 5,000 yen every half hour. So that's like what, like $100 an hour, I think. Somewhere like conversion. He's like, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to try being the money grubbing lawyer for a change, just to see how it is. And him and Yuji are talking, and Yuji's pretty much saying how he wants to put an end to this portion of the calling game. It doesn't have to be the whole one, but they just want to make it so there's no forced rule on killing people. And I like Hiruma's ideologies in this and the way that he thinks. So he's like, I'm not going to do that because like the calling game presents lots of possibilities. Because sometimes the law is powerless, which is true. Sometimes like people can get around the law, or they can figure out how to exploit the law to their benefits. Like you can easily find some way for criminals to like find some sentence, some pinpoint piece in the wording of whatever they're associated with crime-wise, and figure out a way to work around it. That's just something that has always been a thing, and people have always figured out ways to pretty much exploit whatever situation they're in for their own benefit. I mean, that just happens. Nothing's perfect. No system is perfect. That's just how it is. And I can understand. He kind of understands it too. He's like, it is what it is. Nothing's gonna ever like be foolproof. But some things work even if they aren't at their best. And I can understand that. That's just one of those things in life that is very true. There's never going to be a perfect system of anything, especially something like Law and Order. There's always going to be issues with it. There's always going to be problems stemming up from one way or the other. Excuse me, cat. I've been recording here. But during this, he's like, what about the rules of the calling game? He's like, if the power I've received is real, then so are the rules. And I think he's talking about like his curse technique and stuff. And he's like, if the rule breakers got punished according to natural law without any charges, persecuted trials, wouldn't that be wonderful? I recognize the rules aren't perfect, but I want to preserve the calling game's base mechanics. So he's trying to like say like, well, it's already kind of structured this way. Do I really want to change it that much? Like how it make it different? I think he's like looking at it more of going with its baseline rules and structure and not kind of modifying them to his own likings, his own ways that he can alter them. I kind of like that. And at the same time, him and Yuji are talking, he's like having a moment. Oh, I can hear this cat mad. Excuse me, I'm almost done. Stop. He's like saying how he wants to see the one where it's like the curse removals, and they're talking about like this whole faction. Like, okay, if you get your curse removed, you're going to die. And Yuji's explaining it to him. He's like, if we wait too long, a lot of people are gonna die. And the guy's just like, I don't really think so. Like, I don't really see how it's gonna really do that part at all. Like, the calling game what does he say? The calling game celebrates permanence, and Yuji doesn't really get it. And that's when Yuji just goes to, like, kind of threaten and try and fight him. I feel like Yuji's not gonna win this. I don't know. At least as of right now, I don't know if Yuji's got anything else that he's gonna pull out. But I'm willing to bet this guy, given how powerful he is, given his status right now in the arc, his curse technique is probably OP. It's probably broken. He probably has some really unfair ability that's going to be really crazy to utilize. And like Yuji's strong, and I'm not even talking about like the Sukuna portions of it and stuff. Like he's got dangerous techniques, and like Black Flash, even if he's spammed it for a little bit, it's still a formidable technique. So is Divergent Fist and whatnot, and he's got like way higher physical strength than like a majority of the Jujutsu Kaisen universe so far. So it's like someone like Higuruma could actually take considerable damage from him. But I really see it kind of like, it just is like a comparison. When you look at like Kenpachi versus Pranita over in Bleach or something like that, where it's just like, yeah, a guy can be really raw powerful, but if another character has a hacks that can defeat him, and like he sets up in a way that the character logically would run into it and has no way to counter it, then he could easily get run over. And that I could easily see that happening to Yuji. I could see Yuji getting caught in some really strong ability, some complicated ability that ends up really hurting him. Maybe not like severely hurting him, but like enough to kind of like push him in the battle. Plus, like this fight this early, I feel like Akutami is gonna have this guy have a bigger role this arc, and I'd be really disappointed if he was just kind of like the first enemy of the Culling game and that's it. I'm hoping he lasts longer. Like I said, he's really cool. I like his design. I like his personality. I like his backstory. His curse technique looks cool. Everything about this guy right now has a lot of promise to him. And I don't think there's like any other characters right now that, like newer characters rather, that I have as much interest in. Because like the guy or girl, whatever, that looks kind of like Satoru Gojo, it's like, I don't really care that much. Kenjaku is like the final villain, at least currently, so it's like I don't really expect that guy to be very active right now. I expect it to be a lot of smaller characters like this guy, so I'm hoping that he ends up like getting a higher end role. Like he doesn't have to be top dude, like second bad guy of like the entire arc, but I'm hoping he just has a sizable role and he can, you know, stick around. I'd be even perfectly fine if they end up like converting him into the main cast. Like I don't need him to be an antagonist. I just like this character. If he logically, through, you know, whatever they present in the story, ends up becoming you know, allied with the protagonist, I'd be fine with it. It just depends on how it's handled. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, prefer the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But that, appreciate you. Subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.